What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is 95% sure that Anthony Joshua will face Tyson Fury at the start of 2021. But could be this year if Wilder pulls out. And let's go into detail on what the British promoter has said verbatim. He says Tyson is not afraid of anyone at the same time, and he knows if he beats Joshua, he will be an even bigger global figure. The good news about this pile up of global sports events is that there will be competition for airtime when sports returns, and people will not pay for tick-over contests. He says, I think we have an excellent chance of seeing that fight. I would say 50-50. It is this year, and if it is not this year, then it's a 95% chance for early 2021. Now, here's my thing. The coronavirus has put a lot of stuff on hold. So what that really means is that's put a lot of people on the back end of fights that we should have saw. However, some of the fights that were already planned to be scheduled might not occur simply because the fans might demand a certain protocol of fight, because you have to bring something big to get people back into the sport of boxing. I'm not sure about the UK because boxing is a big sport over there. Over here, it's really not all that big. You know, UFC is bigger than boxing here in the States, okay? Along with football and basketball and stuff like that, sports like that. So you're going to need something big to grab the attention again, to reignite boxing on fire, you know, to set it afire again, to spark the interest of people watching it the way they were watching it, right? Because it was getting good. It looks like the end of a reign for a certain fighter, and some people, you know, yayed, some people nayed, some people celebrated, some people cried, right? And I'm talking about Wilder, but, you know, since this coronavirus has happened, a lot of things have transpired. It put a lot of things on hold. A lot of fights we thought that we took for granted we might not have. So at this point, I think it's best to get the best fights as possible, and I think that's what Eddie Hearn is trying to do. That's what he's trying to exploit by using something good out of this whole thing, you know, pulling something out of all the bad stuff, all the negative things. And he also said, I am always confident because it's a big fight and the demand for the fight is a huge, but there are complications, as they always are. He asks, does Wilder even fight Fury again? I am hearing that he has a slight injury and cannot train until May. Does that bring a delay? There's a chance, hypothetically, if the sport comes back in September and Wilder isn't ready or doesn't want to fight, then I think Joshua would or could drop Pulev and go for Fury, because that is the fight he wants more than anything else. Now, I see what's trying to transpire, and you could look at that like, okay, well, it's not Fury's fight that Deontay has an injury, which he does. He just had surgery on his right bicep, I believe, right? On his right bicep, and then at that time he can't train until May. Well, if he's not ready to fight, you know, do they push it back? But then here's the thing. I know contractual agreements are a certain way, but then, you know, what do you do when a fighter can't fight? You know, again, that shouldn't be Tyson Fury's problem, waiting on Deontay Wilder to heal. Okay, that's, you know what I mean, especially if he injures himself. You know, that's just like when Pulev was going to fight Joshua for the mandatory on the IBF side, right? Well, he got an injury. So, okay, well, that means he can't fight. You know what I mean? So I know mandatories and these contractual agreements are a little different, but, you know, in somewhere in there, it should have a thin line or an exception to the rule. Like, well, Wilder can't fight, you know, And that means you can't hold a person to a contract ever, like, for a long amount of time because of something that you're dealing with, if that makes sense. And I know that's what I know that's what Eddie Hearn is trying to say, because it's not even fair to Tyson Fury. And it's not fair to anyone else that wants to take on Tyson Fury. Okay, let's say theoretically this. Let's say he pushes it back, he can't train, and he's not ready from October. Then you got what, November, December, right? Well, what's supposed to happen in February? So you have November, December, January, February. What happens in February? That's when Dillian Whyte gets his mandatory. That's the time's up. So he can't wait too long, because there is a mandatory that does affect the WBC, because in that case, Mauricio Sulaiman, if he decides to do his job at that point, he would have to appoint or have to give or grant Dillian Whyte the opportunity to fight the champion at the time, which is Tyson Fury. You see what I'm saying? In that point, by obeying the contractual agreement, which Mauricio Sulaiman and the WBC has nothing to do with, they could strip Tyson Fury of that belt if he doesn't fight. See, people are not looking at that. People are just, everyone that's a fan of Wilder, I get it, y'all want him to redeem himself. Cool, I ain't got no problem with that. But if he keeps pushing it, okay, and the possibility of him still being injured, and if he's still not ready to train, if he's not ready to train, he sure the hell ain't ready to fight. So he has to prepare for this. So that's 6 to 7 weeks. So if he can't do that and is not ready at that time, it's going to be, you have only a certain time to promote the mandatory, right? And I believe that's February of 2021. He has to grant Dillian Whyte that opportunity, or he loses his belt. So what do you think is going to happen? You think he worked all that, beat Deontay Wilder, went through a draw with Wilder, then beat Deontay Wilder to get stripped because Wilder's taking his time because he's injured? See, those are the things you really need to think about when you're dealing with this. So a lot of times Eddie Hearn's like, oh man, he'll never do it. No, Deontay Wilder won't grant it, but if Deontay Wilder can't fight for any reason, I don't see him pulling out, just pulling out. He ain't doing that. Pride too big, right? Ego too big. Maybe his heart's too big, right? But definitely he's not going to do that at all. But that doesn't mean if he continues to be injured, it's only a certain amount of time that contract can even be valid. Because I think it was a certain amount of time for Deontay Wilder to activate the contract. Well, what happens, or how much time is left in that contract? It's probably in the small print. But how much time does Deontay Wilder have to honor that contractual rematch? You see what I mean? And in that case, he should go for the step aside money, because he knows he can't fight anyway. You know, so it could be the case. And these type of fights, like Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, need to happen. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. It's not saying that Deontay can't get his shot. It's saying that when Deontay should get his shot, it should be really looked at, because if he's not ready to give this person his shot due to an injury, that's not that other person's fault. Therefore, if he can't give that guy, or if he can't fight that guy in a certain amount of time, that guy is not obligated to fight him when he's ready. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't even make sense. That's not even fair to the other fighter. So it could be the case, you know, but it is what it is. I think, you know, but another thing, let me counterpunch something else as far as this goes. There is no way that, can't say there's no way, but the chances of what Eddie Hearn's saying, I don't believe either. I don't believe that he'll have the chance to fight him early, because again, we run into the same problem, right? Dillian Whyte. Now, he could probably talk to Dillian Whyte like, hey, you'll fight the winner out of those two, or whatever, Joshua, Fury, or whatnot, you know. But, you know, it's kind of hard to say, because at that point, they might just want to fight each other. But I don't see Tyson Fury giving up his WBC belt. You know, I see him, you know, I know Eddie Hearn is favoring Anthony Joshua, like a lot of people want to see Anthony Joshua. In fact, I'm going to make a poll, and we're going to do a live stream about this, because this is getting a little lengthy. But I think that I think honestly that he should worry more about Dillian White's spot instead of the Tyson Fury, because it's only right at that point. Because you have to do things in order. And I know he's looking at it in order of popularity and profit-wise. So you got Joshua, then probably Dillian White, and then whoever's under that, right? So either that's Usyk or, Joseph Parker, or whoever he has over there. Some of the middleweights or what have you. But anyway, that's my take on it. You guys tell me what you think about Eddie Hearn's comments. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunched. Peace.